So the last several days that we've been doing factoring, every single time we've done factoring problems with a leading coefficient of 1. That's a fancy way of saying that we always started with x squared. Today, I'm going to show you how to factor problems that don't start with just x squared. They start with a number in front of the x squared, like this one, for example, 4x squared. If you have been following along with our factoring process of drawing the x and then factoring by grouping, then this is exactly the same process, okay? So what was that process? Well, first we identify our coefficients a, b, and c. A is always the number in front of the x squared, so in this problem it's 4. B is always the coefficient of the x variable, which in this case is a positive 13. And that means C is the constant, the one that does not have a variable. Poor fella. Now this should be in your notes already, but just in case it's not, or you've lost your notes, or there was a fire in your notebook and this page got destroyed, the x has a times c on the top and b on the bottom. So if I was going to draw the x for this problem, on the top portion of the x, I would have a times c, or 4 times 3, which is 12. And on the bottom of the x, I will have the b value, which is 13. So now our goal is to fill in. Say that again? Oh, very good. Shelby's already ahead of us. We want two numbers that when we multiply them together will give us the 12. And when we add them together will give us 13. Now 12 is a tricky number because there are 3 pairs of factors that work for 12. 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4. Those are all possibilities. 1 times 12 equals 12. 2 times 6 equals 12. And 3 times 4 equals 12. All of those are pairs of factors. So any of those 3 combinations could work, except I need only the one combination that when I add them will give me 13. And as Shelby said, those are the numbers 1 and 12. 1 plus 12 is 13. So that is my correct set of factors, 1 and positive 12. If I tried 2 plus 6, that would not give me 13. And if I tried 3 plus 4, that would also not give me 13. So it's got to be the 1 and the 12. Okay, so now I've got these 4 numbers. I've got 12, 1, 13, and 12. I am going to now write out this problem with the first 2 terms of my problem, which was the 4x squared and the 3. They are going to be in exactly the same spots. 4x squared at the beginning plus 3 at the end. And in the middle, where my 13x was, where I had that plus 13x in the problem, I am now going to put these 2 numbers, 1 and 12. Those are 1x and 12x. So I'll do plus 1x plus 12x. And these numbers right here, the 1x and the 12x came from the x that I drew up here, 1x and 12x. Now what? Exactly right, Shelby. Now I factor by grouping. Very good. So I'm going to take the 4x squared and the 1x. What is the greatest common factor of 4x squared and 1x?
4x.
1 cannot be divided by 4. Just x, exactly right. Very good. Shelby is good at factoring. Your math teacher must be incredibly handsome. So 4x squared divided by my greatest common factor gives me 4x, good. The second term in the problem was that 1x. I'll divide that by the greatest common factor. That's just 1. Cool. So if I know what I'm doing, that's iffy, then whenever I group the second pair, the 12x plus 3, they should also end up with a 4x plus 1 in parentheses. Let's see if they do. So 12x and 3, what is the greatest common factor? Yes, ma'am. Positive 3. Very good. So what should go in the parentheses? Well, we'll take our 12x and divide by our greatest common factor. Four is so close. 4x. And then our second term was the positive 3, so we'll do 3 divided by 3, which is, well, Lord have mercy, hallelujah. Look at our two parentheses. 4x plus 1 and 4x plus 1. So when we write our answer, one set of parentheses is 4x plus 1. I don't think so. Wait, what do you mean them? You mean us?
Them, the people that didn't pay attention.
What, there are people who didn't pay attention to me? I find that hard to believe. I think clearly she's just joking, kids. You all hang on my every word. There's my answer, which is a beautiful light purple color on my screen, but for some reason looks sort of pinkish up there. What do you do? Gray. My dog says the same thing.
Which part? Gray or just colorblind?
Neither, because dogs can't speak English.
What if you had Martha speak?
What?
Martha.
What is that?
She ate alphabet soup.
Yep, and she could talk.
Oh, you never said yeah.
She ate alphabet soup and now she can talk?
Yeah. And she learns.
Ah, so it's a biology documentary.
Yeah, she learns big words. It was a kid show. Yeah.
Brock, are you serious? Lavender. It's technically burnt paisley.
Wait, which one? Because on it up there it looks like.
None of them. Oh my gosh. Why is today the day that all of you have decided not to understand sarcasm? Every single thing today, you're like, actually, that's not true. Very upsetting. I tell you things that aren't true all the time, and today's the day you decide to call me out on it.
Yep, today. A equals 6.
Very good.
B equals 5.
Oh,
Negative 5.
there we go.
C equals negative 3.
There we go. Shazam, as the kids say.
X.
Nerd alert, nerd alert.
A times C. So 6 times negative 4.
Right, the top one's A times C, which is 6 times negative 4, negative 24. And down here is just the B, which is negative 5. Now this is going to be tricky. I need two factors that I can multiply together to get negative 24 and add to get negative 5. Brock, I'm going to crawl through the computer and hurt you.
Okay. So the biggest number has to be negative to make the 5 negative.
That's exactly right. So I'm going to write down the factors of 24. So that would be 1 times 24, 2 times 12,
Why is it odd number?
3 times 8, 4 times 6. I think that's it. Can't think of any more for 24. All 4 of those combinations, when I multiply them together, give me 24. Now, Shelby's correct. One of those numbers will have to be negative, so that when I multiply them, I get negative.
It's the bigger number.
And it's got to be the bigger number, because when I add them, I get -5. Keeping that in mind, only one of these 4 combinations will actually give me -5.
4 and 6.
So 4 and 6, if I made one negative and one positive, would give me -2, which is close. -6 plus 4 is -2. That's close. It's got to be 3 and 8, because 3 minus 8 gives me -5. Good. So 3 and -8.
Does it matter which side we write it on?
It does not. So when I rewrite this problem, the 6x squared still stays in the front, and the -4 still brings up the rear, our little -4 caboose right there. In between, though, where we had -5x,
It should be -8 and -8 plus 3.
right, -8x plus 3. Now I'm going to write it, don't copy me here because I'm going to change it immediately, but I'm going to write the opposite of what Shelby said, because what Shelby said was the best way to do it. She said do -8x plus 3x. What if I did it the other way? What if I did plus 3x and then -8x? I would still get the right answer, but why might this not be the easiest way for me to write it? I'm looking specifically at my second group. Yes, ma'am?
Because if you subtract 8x from 3x, you get a negative.
Mm-hmm.
Which is generally harder to deal with.
It's generally harder to deal with, especially because my second group starts with a negative.
It'll cancel out maybe positive.
Well, but I'll still have to factor out a negative number, which is not a problem. I'll get the right answer if I do that. It's just if I can make it a little easier for myself by doing something simple like writing it in the other order. Now my second group starts with a positive number, which is much easier to deal with. You get the right answer either way, but let's go easy on ourselves. Greatest common factor of 6x squared minus 8x.
2. No.
I like 2.
2x.
There, 2x. There we go. Okay, so to figure out what goes in there, I take the first term, which was 6x squared, and divide by the greatest common factor. 3x, there we go. Good job. And then we'll take the second one, which was 8x, divided by 4, and the minus sign goes in between them. Beautiful. Excellent work from my algebra students and the former algebra students. I'm starting to think you guys might have learned some algebra last year.
We tried.
Let's look at our second group here.
1. I mean, not 1.
No, you were right. 1, because 4 can't be divided by x.
Oh, yeah, right.
So it'll be a 1. 1 is a great factor to do, because if you divide everything by 1, what are you left with? The same thing. Well, let's see. How are we feeling about this one? The parentheses are the same. I'm going to use my dark taupe highlighter there. So one set will be 3x minus 4. Outstanding. The other set of parentheses is going to be whatever I'm left over with, which is going to be the 2x plus 1.
Amazing. Okay, so
I am. Thank you for noticing.
I'm like Dory. Sometimes I have short-term memory loss. Did we say we were putting her in health? That's what I had written right there. Or what?
I'm 95% sure that's
Me
what I
too.
did, but
That's what I
let
was-
me
I
check.
just want to make sure if I went ahead and.
Please pause for this brief programming note.
Yes, it is. Happy 100th day.
Are there 100 dots on that shirt?
Yes, there's 100 fingerprints. It's mine and my son's.
Yes, health.
Thanks.
We don't celebrate the 100th day in high school. We celebrate the 192nd day because that's the last day of school.
Oh, genius.
Yes. 97.
We're in school for almost 200 days.
We have 97.
I know it's the first week of February and we're just now over the halfway point. What are you crying for? That means we get to spend, as long as we've been spending it together, we get that much more. Dang.
Numbers gotta suck this year.
Some of you will need 92 days to repair your grades, which I've just dipped now that you've cried about having to spend time with me.
It wasn't having to spend time with you. It was having to spend time doing the classes that we now have to repair the grades.
Okay. I'm sorry to say that you being negative about spending time in school has caused you all to get whatever the opposite of extra credit is.
Negative credit.
The opposite of extra would be. It's the opposite of extra.
Basic.
Try this problem by yourself while I'm trying to think of what the opposite of extra credit would be. Let's see, extra means you have more than you need. So the opposite would be less than you need, which would be like deficit. Okay. And then credit. Credit is when you.
This is the opposite of normal.
The opposite of extra is normal. I wouldn't know because I'm extra all the time, as the kids say. Lestra, I'm pretty sure that's not it, Brock. Lestra credit.
Sounds right to me.
Basic.
Let's see, credit
Debit.
is like, oh, debit. So instead of extra credit, it's deficit debit. There you go.
Immediate payment.
Deficit debit.
That's the opposite word for credit, and it's coming up with debit entry, cash, and immediate payment.
I admire that you are spending your time on this, but also, why are you spending your time on this?
We're helping you out.
We got it. Deficit debit. That's what you're all going to get. You're going to get a deficit debit.
We're not the deficit debit.
Man, it even sounds good when you act afraid of it. Oh no.
I don't think this problem can be solved.
Why not?
Okay. Let's do this. I made the x and a times c.
You made the X and that's all it took for you to be convinced?
Oh no. Okay, so a times c equals -6. Okay.
It does?
Oh, I thought it was a negative. My bad.
Positive 6.
So never mind.
And then a -7.
That's exactly right, Rowdy. Very good.
I'm really dumb.
So before we worry about what the numbers are going to be, if multiplying them gives us a positive result and adding them gives us a negative result, what can you say about the numbers? One of them's negative?
Wait, hold on. Can you repeat that, please?
If you multiply them together and you get a positive number,
Both of them are negative.
both of them are negative. We're looking for two negative numbers.
Oh, that's why.
And 6 isn't bad because 6 only has 2 factors. It's either got to be 1 times 6 or 2 times 3. Which one of those could give us 7?
1 times 6.
And because they're both negative, it'll be -1, -6.
I saw the 3 said negative. That's why I said.
Ah.
Because I was thinking, it was -6.
Does it 2 negatives make a positive?
When you multiply them, it does, yes. But when we add them, it gives us -7.
No, I thought it was negative. The 6 is negative, and it doesn't make any sense because
Yeah.
you have to multiply 1 to negative. But the 6 is
Good. I'm really glad you said that. If the 6 had been negative and we couldn't find 2 numbers, what would the answer to the problem be?
prime.
Prime. Exactly right. Or Optimus. Or Optimus if you don't remember the word, but you remember that we talked about Transformers.
I was literally going to say Optimus Prime.
Because all I can remember was the Transformers card.
No, that would be wrong because Bumblebee is not one of the primes.
Exactly. So they-
Open a book every once in a while. Ugh.
Everybody would be
Watch
confused.
some of the
Uneducated.
movies. Watch some of the movies. The
No,
old-
don't watch the
I'm sorry,
movies.
I'm not a nerd.
Watch the 1980s cartoon.
Why not? Yes.
I'm good.
Or
He was a
watch the
guy.
cartoon movie, which is important for two reasons. Number one, it's a Transformers cartoon movie, so it's awesome.
Exactly.
And number two, the voice of Optimus Prime was the last movie role of the great Orson Welles,
Who likes that?
director and star of the greatest movie ever made, Citizen Kane.
What's that?
I really would like to show you Citizen Kane, but I don't think you would enjoy it.
Why
Oh, I
not?
thought you were gonna say you would like to show it to us, but it's like school appropriate.
No, it's appropriate for school. It was made in 1942 before there were even ratings.
Wow. What's it about?
I just want to do my own.
It's an especially prescient story nowadays. It's about a guy who gets into the newspaper, radio, TV business and uses his influence as a radio star to run for public office. So he's not really experienced in politics, but because he controls a lot of the media, he can use it to make himself seem like he's amazing.
Genius.
But he loses the election for governor because the guy who's running against him
Is that-
finds some dirt on him. He's been up to no good, and he exposes him to the public. So he loses the election. And rather than concede and say, well, he beat me fair and square, he says there was election fraud at the polls.
Hmm.
Interesting.
And then when it becomes clear that he will not be elected, he goes off to his mansion where he spends the rest of his life alone.
That's sad.
Can we just do my, can we
Does
just do
history just
algebra,
repeat
please?
itself?
I
I just want
think
to do
so.
algebra, please.
You don't want to hear about the greatest movie of all time?
No, I don't care.
You don't? Wow.
I'm interested. I was passing by. What it is you read
Oh, yes.
Okay, so we started off talking about Transformers because you know what, it's a long story, but it was related to algebra. And then Baden said you should watch the Transformers movies, and my counterpoint was those movies are garbage, except for the animated Transformers movie, which was awesome. And the voice of Optimus Prime was the last movie role of Orson Welles, who directed Citizen Kane, the greatest movie of all time.
Oh, okay. I see your argument there.
He was also in The Third Man, which is really excellent as well.
Okay, hold on. The 1980s cartoon or like the
Mhm. Okay, Shelby. Now that we've got our two numbers, -1 and -6, could you please take us all the way home?
Okay, so 2x squared is going to be at the beginning.
Yep.
of our non equation.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, we're going to add, is it -3?
That's what you did originally that caused problems. It's not -3, it's actually,
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. Oh. My brain does not work well. when I'm
no, you're doing fine. You are doing wonderful. I have no complaints about the quality of your mathematics.
Okay, so plus. All right, now we add in the middle, -6x
Mm-hmm.
minus 1x.
Good. Okay, so let's stop right here. Unlike the last problem, the order really doesn't matter. Since both numbers are negative, our second group is for sure going to start with a negative. So it doesn't matter if you do 6 and then 1 or 1 and then 6, you got to deal with the negative either way. Okay, carry on.
All right, so we root 2x squared with -6x.
Mm-hmm.
That's one root.
Mm-hmm.
Negative 1x with 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we do to group the first group is
Mm-hmm.
you find the common factor, there's one factor, which is 3x, negative 3x, no?
2 can't divide by 3.
Oh, yeah. So it's x.
What can 2 and 6 both be divided by? 2. There you go. Dang, Rowdy, you are on fire today. You and Shelby are the factoring pros.
I remember a little bit from last year.
You guys just teach this class. I'm going on break.
No,
That would be interesting. Let's try into a gladiator fight.
I would be smashing my head up against the desk because I wanted to.
That seems like an overreaction. What goes inside the parentheses?
So inside parentheses. So we have to figure that out by.
We? I ain't doing it. You're doing it.
Okay. Let's see. That would be 6x divided by 2,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which would be, wait, negative 6x, which would be negative 3.
Mm-hmm. Did you say what came first? I didn't hear.
Negative 6x? Is that correct?
2x squared divided by 2x?
X.
Good.
X
X.
squared, right?
No, just x. You had it right the first time.
Oh.
Okay. The second set is the set where we got to be careful. Why do we have to be careful? I mean, you should always be careful. But why do we particularly have to be careful?
It's a positive.
Positive on the end, but at the beginning is a negative. So our greatest common factor has to be negative. Negative what? What can 1x and 3 both be divided by?
1.
Just 1. So negative 1 is our greatest common factor.
I have a hard time focusing when there's a lot of people talking. That's why.
A lot of people have a hard time focusing when they have a algebra teacher who's really, really, really ridiculously good looking. What's next? There we go. Rowdy got it. X minus 3. Very good, Rowdy. Dang, I'm impressed. They were being nice to me, Emily. You should try it some. Oh, I'm so sorry. So x minus 3 is one of the things they have in common. That's one. Ugh. That is horrific. So x minus 3. Wow. That is upsetting.
I said gave birth to me.
I know.
You're being mean
You're
to
being
yourself.
mean to yourself.
That doesn't matter.
Yes, it does.
And what I'm left with is 2x minus 1. You should be nice to everyone, especially me. And then second, yourself.
I'm good. I not include myself.
There's our answer, x minus 3 and 2x minus 1. So if you have been following this x process for the last couple of days, and I hope you have, because every problem, every piece of education I have given you is straight fuego, as the kids say. This is just the next logical step. We're still doing A times C, and we're still doing B on the bottom, exactly the same. We're still separating it into 4 terms, then factoring by grouping. The only difference is one of your factors is now going to have a number in front of the x. Maybe both of your factors will have a number in front of the x when you're
Do
done.
another one, please.
One more? All right. Apparently one more problem.
Something like this week.
Oh, how much longer are we going to be doing factoring? Well, factoring is going to exist until you leave high school, and maybe after that. But
Very helpful when you join math team.
yeah, so when you join math team next year, you know factoring. But it comes up in geometry and a little bit in geometry and a whole bunch in algebra too. But as for lessons that are just factoring, we'll be done with it this week. And then we'll move on to factoring and, which is quadratics. You factor and then you do something with the factors. It's really fun if your idea of fun is factoring, solving equations in graphic. And I think I speak for everyone when I say that is awesome. Right?
Oh, sorry, I'm doing a fun thing. A equals 2.
A equals 2.
A is 2.
Oh.
Talk about the problem. B is 5.
Mm-hmm.
And C is also 2.
How about that?
Now we clear X
On what? Like in the chair?
on the side of the
Happens to the best of us, man. Happens to the best of us. Did you make your X? Not you, Rowdy. Okay.
Get on top of it.
Shelby's answering me, but I'm talking to Rowdy. Rowdy, did you make the X? Okay. What goes on the top?
Two
Which is 4.
times 2.
Mm-hmm. So 4.
4, and then 5 on the bottom, and 1 and 4.
Perfect.
And then I got to the other one,
Mhm.
break it down.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure he'll pause
kinda
for me to
stuck.
go and give this to you.
Scroll
Rowdy is absolutely right about those numbers, 1 and 4. Outstanding job. So now what? So what do we do next? Yeah, I think you put a 3 on the end there. I think that's supposed to be a 2. But yeah, I'm just going to copy what's on Rowdy's paper because it's exactly right. The 2x squared stays the same and the plus 2 on the end stays the same. But in the middle, the 5x becomes plus 1x plus 4x. So the next piece then would be to group the first two, right? Okay, so let's look at that. Did you get the greatest common factor for those? 2x squared and 1x. What is it? What can they both be divided by? They can both be divided by 1. And what about the x's? I've got an x squared and an x. So they have an x in common. That's exactly right. You were gone? Hmm. I thought it suddenly smelled better in here. Yes, Brock, that's correct. 1x or just x. We like them both. So this is the part you got stuck on?
X.
So the question is, if we take the 2x squared and the 1x, and we divide them both by our greatest common factor of x, what's left? So if I take that first term, which was 2x squared, and I divide by the greatest common factor of x. What is 2x squared divided by x?
2x.
Yeah, 2x. Yep. Mhm. So that goes first. And then we take the second term, which was 1x, and we'll divide that one by x as well.
Plus 1.
So plus 1.
No, it would just be 1. I'm sorry.
That would be 2.
Mm-hmm.
Why'd you switch it? Why'd you switch it?
Why did I switch what?
Oh no.
What are you doing? What's happening? I don't understand. I'm scared.
I had 4x in the place of 1x. That's why.
It's okay. You'll still get the same answer.
2x.
Well, now I have.
Mm-hmm.
2.
Because that's 4x divided by 2
1.
plus 1. Because 2 divided by 2. Use a calculator if you need to, kids. 2 divided by 2 is 1. I know I've done this problem right. How do I know? Because I'm a genius. The parentheses are the same. So one of my parentheses will be 2x plus 1. You forgot? One of them is 2x plus 1. And the other one will be x plus 2.
Just that last part I get stuck on.
Take some practice for sure, but you're doing really well.
I remember some of it from last year.
And in the words of Teddy Roosevelt, la dee dee da dee, we likes to party.
Oh my gosh.
Who's got questions about factoring when your leading coefficient is greater than 1?
I'm gonna write this down. So I can read about it. When you write in the parentheses, right, you got the x in the parentheses. When you divide it in, I'm sorry, it's always in my mind.
What do you do? Oh, I'm dividing the original pair, the 2x squared plus 1x. I'm dividing that by the greatest common factor, which was x.
Divide the first two by the greatest number.
Yes. Same thing with the second pair. Who else? Who else has questions, comments, compliments? Maybe you should just write those down so we don't spend all day. Continue. She said I'm a math teacher. I think that's a compliment. Oh, good. Good. That's it. That's your only one.
No, I was just curious, 'cause every time I went to review it, I forgot how to do it.
Aw, Brock, that's so sweet. Brock said I'm adequate. The world's okayest teacher.
He said most adequate. It's not that